going on YouTube? It's Nathan back with another video presentation. I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's staying safe. Hope everyone's having their weeks off to a great start. Welcome to the month of June. Does not feel like it. We're halfway into the year 2021. I cannot believe that. Before we get into the video, I just want to do a quick recap. As you see, the Wizards lost tonight. Saw it coming. I think it's best it happened this way. I took my notes here, and here's going to be free agents next year. So we got Lopez, Neto, Ish Smith, Garrison Matthews. I don't know who they were signed. My concern is this: if you are Tommy Shepard, you have to ask yourself, because the Wizards need shooters. I think you need another 3-point shooter. I don't think Bertans is to me. I just see inconsistencies. They need a wing. They need a wing defender. I'd say possibly a wing shooter, and they need length. I like Alex Lynn, but there's certain he just doesn't match up with certain opponents. If you're pleased with the results that you've seen this year, be prepared to be a first-round exit. I think if you're going to put talent around Westbrook and Beal, and you have to figure out what you're going to do about Beal's situation going forward for next year. So the Wizards have they got a lot of questions that need answering this summer in the offseason. Me, like I said, personally, I just start all over again. I just don't think Scott Brooks is I think they haven't gotten better as a team. I think this is a reality check. And I hope that Tommy Shepard, who I like, makes the right moves and do what's best for the team. You know, if you like the progress, okay, then let's get some better help. I can't think of what else the Wizards need, but those are the areas that really terribly lack. I mean, if you look at this series, without Joel Embiid, Seth Curry, and Tobias Harris, I mean, no answers. So disappointed, even though I'm proud of this team. Russell Westbrook did, still show what he is capable of doing, giving us every day, and that he never cheats us. Bradley Beal, in my opinion, should have been, I think, definitely improved. We just got to see what happens during the offseason. So they got a lot of questions that need answering. But also, too, the Knicks lost tonight. I have a clip. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it, but I have a clip. I'm going to say that to the end of the video of Spike Lee just leaving the game early. The Knicks are another team. They need a star. Julius Randle, who's the most improved player, was disappointing. He's definitely got to work on his game, particularly learning how to use his right hand. He can't keep going left. A lot of guys will just figure that out easily. But I think they need another star with them to really complement them, and I think they just need another star. I think Tom Thibodeau did a great job with them, getting them to be relevant. But I have the Sixers beating the Hawks in 6. The Blazers. Let's give Damian Lillard credit. He put on that. I could not stay. I was on the edge of my seat. It was a tremendous game. Even though they sold him, I have them winning the next game. I do. I do know this: if Portland gets eliminated, Terry Stotts is out of there, in my opinion. Could Damian Lillard win out? Who knows? I agree with Charles Barkley. I do not see the Clippers winning another game. I mean, the Mavs, winning another game. The Lakers will get eliminated tomorrow. And so far, man, it's been great basketball to watch. But let me transition into my the main on-course of this video. And you have seen the title. You know, if you follow my videos, I did a video, I want to say it was towards the end of the summer last year. And it was about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith and pretty much those had an issue with Steve Nash being hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And the one question that I asked in that video, if there was a problem with Nash being hired, why didn't you call up Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? Do you see the selective outrage that not just Stephen A. And again, and I told you there are certain, and just follow me. Not just him, it's him, but it's the media. They create these narratives to they always want to bring a race element into it. Everything is not about race. I told y'all in that video, Steve Nash and Kevin Durant were in Golden State together. Steve Nash gave Kevin Durant some of his skills because he was a player's consultant. How to shoot the ball better. The same thing with Kyrie Irving. What am I saying? I'm saying, listen, Stephen A., this is a guy they signed off for. See, what everyone's missing is that if you have a problem, when these guys, for example, right? I mean, just today, Danny Ainge, who I believe will get a job as an executive. I don't know where. Brad Stevens was hired to replace him. And everybody is on Twitter and other social media are up in the upheaval. They're upset because they're saying, well, how could a guy who hasn't gotten his team to a championship the day after he loses to the Brooklyn Nets to get eliminated by the Brooklyn Nets, oh, he's elevated the GM? Let me ask you a question. Danny Ainge, right, who we can say is a great GM, but didn't do enough to make the team better. And don't give me, well, he had Kyrie Irving, he had Gordon Hayward, he's got Kemba Walker. Kyrie Irving, let's just call it what it is. He failed as a leader in Boston. They were one game away. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. They were one game away. Isaiah Thomas was an all-star. Could you make an argument? Could he have pushed for Anthony Davis? Sure. But as you see, he's in street clothes. So the point I'm trying to make is that, you know what? The inside expectations from ownership of the Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge probably just was, okay, I've tried. I'm looking at Brad Stevens' record, right? So, I mean, the first year he got there was a year, where Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, they're traded to Brooklyn. It's a young team. But I'm looking, he's been in the conference finals 3 times. He's been bounced off the first round 3 times. But this year he's bounced off the first round. He's bounced off the conference semifinals. He has 354 wins and 282 losses. To me, Brad Stevens' coaching record is, that's 56% winning percentage. That's decent. That's pretty good. He's done a good job as a basketball coach. But see, you guys have to understand this. And I said the same thing about Tim Tebow. It's all about networking. It's not, and that's nothing to do about race. Brad Stevens most likely spoke a language that ownership, who nobody wants to call out since they're so bothered with the hiring, he probably has a plan to make the Celtics better. Now, me personally, I like Kemba Walker, but I think the formula they had the year they lost in the conference finals without Kyrie, was that 2017, 2018? That was they had that was a better formula. I think adding Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, all these guys, it just messed up the chemistry. In my personal opinion. Now on paper, when you look at the roster, yes, I agree. They should be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I'll concede that point. I will concede that point. But you also have to concede the fact that, you know what? It's not like they didn't make the playoffs. It's not like Brad Stevens had a trash record. Now, this year they were 7th in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they were 4th in the Atlantic. 36, that's 500. Mediocre, we get it. But Jaylen Brown's not there. Kemba Walker, for a good chunk of the first half of the season, was out. So it was a lot of plugging in guys and trying to see where guys could fit. Who was the best line to put out there? Now, why I think people are mad, they're mad because, again, guys like Stephen A. and other people in the media create these headlines, create these narratives, where they're saying, oh my gosh, here is another example where an African American can't get another job. I just want to point this out to y'all. Okay, now he's been promoted to be the head of operations basketball. He's now promoted to GM. Do y'all still know that the head coaching job is now vacant? You don't know who he's going to hire. You don't know that. But again, my question, the $64 million question that no one seems to answer or doesn't want to have an answer for or make excuses. If you're so bothered by the fact that Brad Stevens or Steve Nash were hired in those positions, why don't you call out the players? Just like in the NFL, the Rooney Rule. You know, last season there was only one black offensive coordinator, and that was Byron Leftwich for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nobody had a problem with that. Nobody even said a word. See, this is what bothers me. And I'm gonna go there. You see, we keep talking about we want this, we want that. But at the end of the day, we never seem to really look at the bigger picture. I don't know. For all I know is Brad Stevens could be an elevation from what Danny Ainge, couldn't get the team over the hump. Who knows? The Celtics going forward, they have a lot of questions. I personally believe your bread and butter is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Now figure out who you're going to put around them. I keep Marcus Smart. Kemba Walker, I like him, but I don't think he's a good fit for Boston. Now, I'm going to play a clip But before I get, I want you to understand this too. He signed a 6-year deal worth $22 million. And I believe he got a contract extension, which gives him 3 to 4 more years. So if they fired him, or even if they fired him, they got to pay that contract. So that's not smart, number one. But number two, his record speaks for itself. Again, you make a great argument if his record was trash. For example, like Chip Kelly for the Philadelphia Eagles. How he got that job in San Francisco after that atrocity in Philadelphia is beyond me. Make no sense. But again, we keep preaching this. We need more of diversity. We need more of this. They talked about Jason Kidd being a potential head coach for the Boston Celtics. Chauncey Billups, Kevin Garnett. What is the problem? What happened to when we go on these job interviews? Listen, I want to sell you on why I'm here to take your job. I'm doing this interview to prove why I'm better than candidate B, C, and D. What happened to that kind of mentality? Again, we kind of live, like I said, we live in this Oprah-filled society where we have to give these handouts. Oh, I'm sorry, here you go. You can have this, you can have this, you can have that. Instead of working for it. Now, I will say this. I will concede this point. Should they have considered looking for a potential, doing like a GM search? Absolutely. But you don't know how long this was going on planned. For all I know is Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens were probably having a conversation since All-Star break, really since the start of the season. You don't know that. You don't have all the facts. Now, I personally think, because I know he got a $70 million offer deal at Indiana, and now that the great Coach K has stepped down, we'll see what happens with that. But let's see what he can do as a GM. If he doesn't do the job as a GM, then they're not going to go, all right, it's time to let him go. But again, if he had a terrible record as a coach, and his coaching record speaks for itself, the Boston Celtics, yes, could have been a better team. On paper, they are top 3 in the East easily. But I'm going to get into this. I want y'all to see this video. And I'm going to I might pause it here and there just so I'm going to get my thoughts in there.
Hey, NBA players are some.
Danny Ainge stepping down as president of basketball operations. Brad Stevens will move into a full-time front office role, and he will lead the coaching search for the Boston Celtics. Stephen A., we had some technical difficulties, lost your shot. I want to get your response here to what Kendrick Perkins had to say, that he didn't see this coming.
Well, he didn't see this coming. I didn't see it either. But, I particularly don't care as it pertains to Danny Ainge. He's had a long enough career as an executive. And if he ends up landing someplace else, I'd applaud it because he deserves it, because he has a resume that speaks to that. I wish not throw no shade on Danny Ainge. I do think that he should have went after Anthony Davis a bit harder. But then again, with Anthony Davis perpetually injured, we understand why he may have been reluctant to do so. As it pertains to this, here's what I want to do. Again, when we talk about Steve Nash, we talk about Tim Tebow, we talk about, Brad Stevens and stuff like that. I want to call out the NBA players. You got something to say about everything else? Where you at? We got one, you got some people out there that saying Raphael Stone ain't making the final calls, even though Fertitta and the Houston Rockets swear that he is. Okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You got Masai Ujiri in Canada. You got Raphael Stone in Houston after everybody's departed and he basically has no team. They ain't African Americans that have been toiling through the terrain and trying to become executives in the National Basketball Association. Last time I checked, that's the case. We see coaches on the sideline. They don't want to become head coaches. They've been assistants for years. You got a guy like Phil Handy in Los Angeles that's been an assistant everywhere he's gone to get championships. Cleveland, Toronto, and LA. Okay? And it wasn't just LeBron. It was Kawhi, too. There's a plethora of guys. You got Sam Cassell. He's going to be a hell of a coach one day in the NBA if he gets that opportunity. Chauncey Billups. Everybody was talking about he had an opportunity to get an executive position. And then suddenly it dwindles. But Steve Nash, who we love and respect, great dude, got a...
I want to pause it right there. I want to say this. Let's see. Again, if Phil Handy, who I respect, or Sam Cassell, who I respect, said they want to be head coaches, they would have said it. See, everybody is not built. And Phil Handy and Sam Cassell, I love them. But everybody can't be a head coach. You have Stephen Silas, son of the great Paul Silas, unfortunately was handed a team that was essentially broken up by a guy who definitely abused his power, and nobody called that out. Doc Rivers and the Los Angeles Clippers, when they blew that 3-1 lead, Doc Rivers wasn't feeling them. They weren't feeling Doc Rivers. Nate McMillan was bounced out the first round 4 years, even though he faced LeBron James. JB Bickerstaff is on a team where before he got there, they got a coach fired because they're practicing too hard. They're watching too much film. You have Kevin Love and others who are not leaders. You have a mess in Cleveland. And then you had Lloyd Pierce, who was fired and replaced by Nate McMillan. You had Jason Kidd, who was the coach in Brooklyn. So the point I'm trying to make is that you see opportunities that are given. But unfortunately, again, we keep talking about we want all this stuff, and yet when it comes to situations like this, everyone's silent. Where's LeBron James? Where's Kevin Durant? Where's Kyrie Irving? Where is everybody?
A black agent, one of the great ones, Mr. Bill Duffy. Steve Nash never coached on any level. And not only does he get the job, he gets the job with the full support of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, never insisted that a black candidate be interviewed and be put front and center so we'll know who that individual is. We got Brad Stevens.
Again, like I said, if there was an issue with it, then everybody that was on Twitter and other around social media should have been calling Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving out. That's my only point.
It's Boston. Tatum's your star. Jaylen Brown's your star. We understand what role that they play, particularly Jaylen Brown, in social justice issues. We're supposed to be woke. We're supposed to understand that knee on George Floyd's neck wasn't just about violence and police brutality. It was also the figurative semblance that it provided, where you're feeling like constantly people have their knee on your neck since the time you come out of the womb. We've been talking about all of this stuff, and people are willing to say, oh, Stephen A's bringing up race. Oh, Stephen A's bringing up George Floyd and equating that to Tebow. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, from a figurative perspective, what we witnessed and what got the nation up and it just inspired was because what we saw was symptomatic and emblematic of how we feel as a people, consistently being marginalized, consistently being minimized, consistently being underappreciated, undervalued. And in a world of sports, where you got dudes with guaranteed contracts, making money that would secure their generations of family, you got folks hesitant to speak up. You got players, NBA players are some of the most powerful people in this world. When have they spoken up for black coaches? When? When have they spoken up for black executives, GMs, president of basketball operations? When has that happened? LeBron, all of them, everybody.
That's my favorite part.
Where the hell have they been? Nobody's done anything. And then when we the media, we bring it up, and you got white folks out here gonna sit up there and look at Stephen A. and say, oh, here he is bringing up race. And none of the black players speak up and say, yo, he got a point. Yo, he's right. Yo, there's something that needs to be done here. Do y'all want me to bring up the Rooney Rule and how it might be needed in basketball? Oh, I forgot. I can't do that. Why? Because the Rooney Rule ain't even working in the damn NFL. So when are we going to say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Burke,
and I'm laughing because he took his suit jacket off.
Pissed. Get me in trouble. Get me in trouble. You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Yeah, Burke, you want to respond?
I think he's the only guy that I know that can just do that, just walk off the set. That's.
I mean, I see his point, man. And Max, to be honest, he has a valid point because you hear guys, especially a guy like Kyrie, you hear guys, he always bring up racism. He always talk about this, that, and the other. And look, I applaud him because he's active in the community. But at the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith has a point. You have assistant coaches out here, like he named, Coach Phil Handy, Coach Sam Cassell, who has been longtime assistants, and the same African-American brothers that are in place of power right now would not put their job or would not put their title on the front line and stand on the front line and speak out for these coaches to get head coaching jobs. But these are the same brothers that will use them in the summertime or use them for player development to get their skill better, but they're not able to help coach them. So I feel his anger. I feel his anger 100%. So this is why we're so divided in the world. And this is why you have the conversation, and we're having a conversation about Myers and Tim Tebow, and everybody is mad, but all Myers is doing is looking out for his boy.
See, but here's the thing with Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer. See, it's two totally different situations, in my opinion. One, again, it's all about who you know. And unfortunately, Tim Tebow could take the pressure off Trevor Lawrence. Is the circus in town? Yes. But unfortunately, they go back to college. That was Tim Tebow's quarterback. We all get it. We know he didn't succeed in the NFL. But you know what? It's all about who you know. I don't know what Tim Tebow's going to look like. For all I know is he could be cut.
He's looking out for his boy. He gave his boy Tim Tebow a job. When there's others out there that are more deserving and have the credentials and have been and still in the game or haven't been away from the game like Tim Tebow, but he looked out for his kind, and that's what Stephen A. Smith is saying.
I think the elephant in the room is that this happened with the Celtics. That's the elephant in the room. And the Celtics, fair or unfair, because the Celtics were the team to field the first all-black starting five, right? Like I told a story, Melly Mel, back, I'm hanging out with him once, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, and he had but Molly said there's a sense of failing upward mutation. Larry Bird, and obviously,
skip that part a little bit.
A big Celtic population of Irish American, Scottish American, everything else. And that is white, obviously. And in the modern era, after the Bill Russell era, the greatest teams were with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Danny Ainge. They were white stars. Ainge wasn't a star, but he was the shooter, and he started. And I think that because they have a reputation, fans in the area, again, fair or unfair, Kyrie Irving just recently brought up, I hope there's no subtle racism when I go back. And he stepped on Lucky, their mascot, their logo, right, which is also a Celtic character. And I think so race, the idea that a white coach loses his job and then becomes GM, then what Molly said, there's a sense of failing upward and that there's some racial component to it. I think that's the elephant in the room. Whether or not you agree with it or want to talk about it, I think that's what's on many people's minds when they hear this news. I can't ignore that it occurs to me. Well,
again, when you say see again, because when you say fail, again, I gave you his coaching record. He's gotten to the conference finals 3 times, and one of those years he didn't have Kyrie Irving, and again this year they just they couldn't get past Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Okay, I just again, this is what I'm saying. This is where the goalpost is moved, because now we're saying, well, he didn't exceed the basketball world's expectations, so we say he failed as a coach. And because now he failed as a coach, they moved him up to a higher GM position. Again, we don't know the conversation that was had between ownership, Danny Ainge, and Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens most likely spoke a language that ownership and Danny Ainge understood. Maybe he has a better plan, or maybe he has to get the Boston Celtics over the hump that Danny Ainge can't get them over.
All right, I'll just wrap it up by saying this. I will never understand what it is like to be black and to walk in your shoes, Stephen A. or Kendrick, and I understand your frustration and empathize and sympathize and stand with you, because it's got to be completely infuriating to constantly see it and to constantly see the unfairness in your face. And I respect Stephen A. walking away, because that's the right thing you can do.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy, Molly, and I appreciate you. But you know what's crazy is that we could come, like myself in particular. I'll come on TV.
Now I want you to listen to this point. This is why I agree with Kendrick on this.
And
I want to speak on.
If I disagree with anything that my African American brothers are doing in the NBA, just a disagreement, not about racism, or just to disagree to this point. You know what I get called? I get called the sellout. I get called the coon when I'm just voicing my opinion about basketball takes. But here it is. You got actual guys out here who are making hundreds of millions of dollars and got a lot of power to put people in position to be successful. People that you see and shake hands and call on a day-to-day basis, and you don't do that. But you rather sit up here and call out a Stephen A. Smith. You rather call out a Jalen Rose, or you rather call out a Kendrick Perkins, because we don't stick to the point. Are we doing it because we're cool?
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. And
so the point I was trying to make in that video was, if he keeps this up, people will start watching the show. I can agree to that. I can agree, because I think that Stephen A., in my personal opinion, I think sometimes just makes the show, he does too much. I understand where he comes from on certain points. I understand for when it comes to the black man, opportunities for the black man when it comes to HBCUs and all that. I respect that. But at the end of the day, he reached on this. Brad Stevens, again, let's give this a chance. If Brad Stevens had a trash record, if they didn't even make the playoffs, everybody has a point. Then we can sit there and go, that ain't right. Like, for example, classic example. Let's use the NFL for example. If Bill Belichick next season, right, this upcoming season, let's say he said this is his last year, and he says, well, I want to elevate myself as a GM. Y'all see how that works? Because he already knows New England system. Look, he just went out there and went on a shopping spree to get some talent in New England. But I get where he was coming from when he was saying, hey, listen, you got a lot of guys like LeBron James, Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, etc., that are talking about, we want justice, we want this, we want that, but we're not talking about giving opportunities for black coaches. When I gave, again, I'm going to reference that video where African Americans have gotten opportunities without experience. And unfortunately, there are some head coaches that are on teams that are trash. JB Bickerstaff's on a team that is dysfunctional. The Houston Rockets, unfortunately, like I said, James Harden, who's responsible, who because of his failed leadership in Houston, that team is a lottery pick. The Atlanta Hawks in the early half of the season, before they fired Lloyd Pierce, we were going like, oh wow, Nick McMillan turned it around. But everything can't be about race. Let's stop pulling the race card on every little situation. I think everybody overreact, and Stephen A. just proves. He's proved to me, in retrospect, that you know what? Sometimes you need to evaluate the situation or the issue a lot better. Plain and simple. Now, I will say this now. Kendrick Perkins made a very good point. When we have a conversation, again, we can agree to disagree. It's all about having an opinion. When we talk about certain things, when it comes to ESPN's all about Disney, I agree with that. So again, it's drinking from that cyanide Kool-Aid. But my point is this. Let's give it a chance. Let's see what he can do as a GM. I don't know what I don't know what I don't know his plan. But I know that head coaching vacancy job's open. Jason Kidd, who's black, could potentially be the head coach for the Boston Celtics. Hell, the way the Wizards played this year, we all know Scott Brooks ain't going to be back. Hey, Sam Cassell, maybe Chauncey Billups. But it's all about, again, when you go into these interviews and when you network, when you develop relationships with others, that matters. Basketball acumen matters. Relationships matter. And again, like I said, if a Sam Cassell and a Phil Hartman, who I respect as coaches, wanted to be coaches in the NBA, they would have said it by now. They would have said it. But I think I just think those I saw on Twitter, I think reached. When I look at the results of the Boston Celtics, like I said, I'm going to keep saying, on paper, they are a better team. There should be a top 3 team in the East. But I think of chemistry, and I think they need to revamp that roster. Like I said, your 2 cornerstones is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So let's see what the Boston Celtics are going to do in the offseason, and let's see what Brad Stevens is going to bring on board as a head coach. But Stephen A. so far, I mean, I respect his passion. I understand where he comes from on most things, particularly wanting more opportunities for the black men. But as black men, as African Americans, we got to work. If I went to a high school and said I wanted to be a black coach, I'd be laughed at in the face. I can see why you said that. Okay. I got you. I understand what let me back up. As black men, we have to work hard for everything. I'm not saying that Sam Cassell or Phil Hartman or Sam Mitchell, Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, etc. don't work hard. But everything can't be handed to us. Because again, what happened to, we got to put the work in, and we have to go in these interviews, and when they ask you a question, well, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Taking your job. I'm not here to butter you up or blah blah blah. No, I'm here to take your job. That's the mentality that we should be having, instead of everything wanting a handout. That's the problem with us today. We want a handout. We don't want to work hard for it. What happened to working hard and and getting what and just working hard for it. What happened to that? It just seems again I don't know where a guy like a Stephen A. Smith doesn't see that. I'm not saying all of us are like that, but you have that, you see it where people expect everything to be just handed to them. So because Danny Ainge resigned, that position should just go automatically to an African American? Now the Rooney Rule, like I said, there's one black coach, or one black offensive coordinator in the NFL. That was Byron Leftwich. No one said anything about that. Tampa Bay had Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator. They seem comfortable in their positions. Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups, Mark Jackson, they seem comfortable in their positions. They're making money. They're still they're getting checks. But again, like I told you, the media creates these narratives, these narratives to divide, to keep us, to show us. You see, this is what. Let's see. They're not giving us as African Americans opportunities. They're going to just continue to create that narrative and continue that divide. Now I see what Kwame Brown is saying. What giving some of Stephen A's mama's cooking. Now I really see it, and I like Stephen A. Smith because I love his story, where he comes from. I respect his upbringing and from him growing up to where he's at now. I respect that, but there are certain points where I go, Stephen A. Shut up. I just think everybody overreacted, and Danny Ainge, for like you said, since 2003, it was time for a change. I think, in my personal opinion, I think there was more pressure on Danny Ainge than Brad Stevens, but that's just my opinion. But I want to get into this. I want to show you this clip. The Knicks lost tonight, and then I'm going to wrap it up. But let me show y'all this real quick.
Reggie, I was doing that game for NBC. Oh, Spike's leaving early.
Come
Wait
on,
a second.
That's a fair weather fan right there. If you want to be the number one supporter of the Knicks, you got to stay here and take it.
Y'all see that?
Like the guys
Spike
on the
Lee. Listen, I love Spike Lee, but come on, man. You
game,
stick by your team
Flashback
to the end.
to the 90s.
This man walked out
You
with
just
three
could not get enough.
with 3 minutes left. This man walked out. Oh my gosh! And I thought Cowboy fans were bad. Let me take that back. They're not. Knicks fans are not as bad as Cowboy fans. I put Cowboy fans, Yankee fans, and then the Knicks are like down here. But I just wanted to show that. But again, in my personal opinion, I just, in closing, I just think that Stephen A. overreacted. I get where he's coming from. You know, we talk about we want diversity in these positions and different things like that, particularly when it comes to the NFL and the NBA. But at the end of the day, you have players that are making absorbent amounts of money, and sports was better when race wasn't an issue. Yes, but again, at the end of the day, and I've said this in many videos, politics has seeped its way into every realm of society. And it's happened. And unfortunately, we can't escape from it. But again, my question is, like I said, he's 354 and 282 as a head coach. Why can we not give this a chance? I mean, again, like I said, he spoke a language that Danny Ainge and ownership understood. And also, too, again, this past series, it was Jason Tatum without Jaylen Brown. And then on top of that, again, this was a choice. This conversation already happened. Why do you think he turned down that offer from Indiana? But Danny Ainge stepping down and being replaced by Brad Stevens, nothing to do with race. So I don't really understand. I have no issue with it at all. I just find Stephen A. funny and a cuckoo. Best comment of the day. Best comment. I like that. That's a good one. I would agree with that. I think Stephen A. to a certain extent. Again, like I said, he's the face of ESPN. You know, he signed that lucrative deal. He's the face. He's the face of ESPN. But there are certain things where he's touched on, particularly when it comes to African Americans. Some of the things I respect where he comes from. I do. But in this case, I disagree with him. I think everybody that was on Twitter and talked about, actually, I'm going to show you, and I'm a fan of her, Lexi Brown, because she likes to be on Twitter. Hold on. At this point, I'd like to see more black head coaches and would even love more black front office members. That's just me. Okay. Hold on. That's not it. It was a really, she had like this back and forth. Okay, I can't find it, but if I remember, I will leave it in the description for y'all to see. But she was saying, you know, how could they give him the job? He was fired into a promotion. And, you know, that's white privilege. See, again, we've now put Brad Stevens in this cloud, just like I've said in this video with Steve Nash. We put him in this cloud of white privilege. Twitter just makes issues worse. It's toxic. I agree. I definitely agree with that. That's another comment of the day. I agree with that for sure. But again, it's all about like I said, basketball acumen and relationships matter. And and everyone will understand that in the real world, not just in basketball, football, or any 9-to-5 job you work. So Brad Stevens now is under immense pressure because now he has to prove to the basketball world and others why he got that job. I want to see what he can do with it. Like I said, that head coaching vacancy job is open. And you don't know who it's going to be. Do you think the Lakers are done after next game? Yes, because Anthony Davis is in street clothes, as Charles Barkley said. And again, like I said, you know, when you had Dennis Schroeder who turned down $80 million, and I believe it was Kuzma, they had donuts, a bagel, zero. The Lakers have some work to do in the offseason. I think this year, when JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard left, they brought in too many rotational pieces. I don't think they really have a stable lineup on a stable team. I like Montrezl Harrell, but he was nowhere to be found. Kyle Kuzma, I would expect him to be the third best player on this team when Anthony Davis or LeBron goes down. And Dennis Schroeder proved to me why he's not worth the money he thinks he is. Frank Vogel is a good coach. I disagreed with Snoop Dogg. I don't know why he said Frank Vogel can't coach. I know the job what Frank Vogel can do because I seen what he did with the Pacers. I think the Lakers are done. This year was just honestly just well. Hold on, and I want to give a shout out. Hold on, Ty. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to show y'all this, and I want to give a shout out to Elliot. Elliot, if you're watching, this is because this is what I hate about LeBron fans. I'm gonna share this.
Just didn't have the deep paint.
Oh no, I don't want to use Chris Moo's video. Shout out to Chris Moo.
Checking out, walking off the court basically late in that game too. Just you could see that looking.
Where's the video? I don't want to know. I like them, but I want to see them actually walking off the court.
Ball club.
Other player on this team with the Phoenix Suns is there goes LeBron walking off the floor with 5.
See, I have an issue with that. I understand that your team is down, but as a leader, you don't do that. See, you see how this is why, and this bothers me about LeBron fans. See, LeBron fans won't call that out. You know what they'll say? Well, the team around him sucks. You see, the thing is, you can't do that and then talk about how you've learned from Kobe Bryant. Kobe would never do that. Michael Jordan would never do that. No disrespect, and I'm a fan of Isaiah Thomas. But when Isaiah Thomas walked off after getting eliminated by the Bulls with that little infamous walk-off, that looks like a bag of sour grapes. People say LeBron would never be MJ. Let me say this. LeBron and MJ are two different, they grew up in two different eras. MJ didn't have the benefit of social media like LeBron does. And unfortunately, LeBron is a guy that is used in a way where we question, we say, Michael Jordan is better than you. But unfortunately, see, LeBron benefits from a couple things. One, today the game of NBA is soft, and competition. Michael Jordan had to go through Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. Michael Jordan had to work. LeBron James has had it easy. I definitely think the series is over for the Lakers. I do. But that really bothered me, and everybody, those that are LeBron fans, didn't seem to have an issue with it. I definitely do think the series is over for the Lakers. I have faith in the Portland Trailblazers that they will come back. Damian Lillard, I can. He's another guy that doesn't cheat you. And the performance he put on last night, even though the others sold him, the Austin Rivers had no answers for him defensively. Do I think Damian Lillard is going to leave Portland? No. Do I think he'll probably get some help? That's tough. I do think Terry Stotts, though, if they don't get past this run, I do see him. They move their parting ways with him. Next, Stephen A. will say we need more Asian coaches. I get where Stephen A's coming from, but his thinking logical. It doesn't make sense. listen, I'm all for giving, having a diverse workplace and all that, but you got to work for it. Nothing's handed to you. You got to work hard for it, and that's the mindset that we got to have. We got to work for it. We just can't, sit there when you're, with a basket. No, you're going to take that basket and you're going to find a way to, to get yours and work hard for it. Sam Cassell, Phil Hardy, like again, they could be head coaches, but I think the positions that they're in, they're already giving young guys confidence and helping young guys grow. Monty Williams, for example, Monty Williams should be given credit for developing Anthony Davis into the player that he is today. Even though, unfortunately, this is just me, Dell Demp should have gave him an opportunity because again, Eric Gordon, Tyreek Evans, and Drew Holiday could not stay healthy. Anthony Davis could not stay healthy, and unfortunately, they lost in the first round to who? Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Davis won't last long in the league if he keeps getting hurt. I see him kind of taking a Blake Griffin approach. I think he needs to learn how to post up more. I don't think he needs to be a jump shooter, but I definitely think he needs to change his approach to the game. But same thing with Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, I don't think is the same player too with his injuries. But I think you can change your game, and I think Anthony Davis is going to have to really find different techniques and different things like that. And also too, I think again, you have to give. You can't put so much on Anthony Davis and LeBron. That's what I'm saying. You got to have the others. They brought in Dennis Schroeder for a reason. They thought he said he wanted to get paid like a point guard. He said he wanted to get paid, and look at the effort he's given them. Kyle Kuzma should be at least giving me 20 to 25 points a night. Montrezl Harrell left the Clippers to go play alongside LeBron, and yesterday was nowhere to be found. So it's the others around LeBron and Anthony Davis. And then again, I'm not going to make excuses, but when you're a championship team, the expectations for you are high, and unfortunately, they're coming off a season where they only had 72 days off before the season, and we can say that physically. They just, were not ready. I'm not going to make an excuse, but 72 days off before the season starts compared to everybody else who's down there had a whole year, that makes a difference. So, but historically, Anthony Davis has always kind of had injury problems. I think even going dating back, if I remember, when he was at Kentucky. But I definitely think, who do you see as the final West and East? Wow, that's a good question. Well, I'm telling you right now, whoever wins that series between the Bucks and the Nets are going to the NBA Finals. In the West, I got to give it to the Clippers. I have to. I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George had to redeem themselves for that 3-1 blow last in the bubble. I like Chris Paul. I like Phoenix, but Phoenix is just young. And even though Monty Williams deserves all the credit for developing that team, I have the Clippers, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it's going to be the Clippers and the Nets. But if you, I gotta see. I want to see the first two games in the East with Milwaukee versus Brooklyn, because Kevin Durant, Giannis, he sent the message. He sent the message, and the Bucks look different compared to last year. They look different. Do you think LeBron will play to age 40? No. I see him probably. I give him next year and the year after. I think he's done. I don't see LeBron at his age, and with his injuries, and I don't see it. So, I don't see it at all. And I think it all depends on how LeBron feels and, health wise. I give him 3 more years and he's finished. I kind of see him getting Kareem scoring record, but no, I don't see it. He came out and said he's not going to be the same after his injury. So we'll see. We will see. But yeah, I mean, that's who I think will represent the East and the West. I got to go with the Clippers and the Nets. But I need to see how that Bucks series is going to look. I like Philadelphia, but Joel Embiid is going to be out probably the first 2 games. I don't know if he's going to play in the next series. I think he went towards meniscus. So that's where Ben Simmons has to step up and be the second best player on the team. Even though Seth Curry and Tobias Harris showing that they can hold their own. Do you think the NBA will get back viewers? Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the viewers have always been there. I just think, in my opinion, with the pandemic, I think as far as, everyone getting back in those seats, oh, for sure they get it back. I mean, the NBA always has a plan. So I definitely think it'll get back. I think it'll get back its viewers for sure. So it's different when you're watching them on TV than being at the game. It's totally different. But yeah. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts on today's topic. How do y'all feel about Stephen A. Smith and Brad Stevens? How do you feel about Brad Stevens? Do you think Brad Stevens deserved to be promoted? Do you think he should have just been fired completely? X, Y, and Z, who do you think should be in there? But, do you think Vogel will be gone? No, Frank Vogel knows how to coach. He just won a championship last year. I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening at all. I definitely do think that they do have to they have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what went right and what didn't go right as far as the roster. So I definitely see some changes definitely being made. I don't see them keeping Schroeder. I say they're probably going to get someone maybe like a Kyle Lowry because he's going to be a free agent. Yeah, I don't see it. I just don't see Frank Vogel gone. I can see if they didn't make the playoffs next year. Oh, no, I like Snoop Dogg's views on basketball. I just thought what he said on the Lakers, I disagreed, where he said Frank Vogel can't coach. I agree with his views, where he said where he said that Frank Vogel, what are you talking about? Like, they just won the championship last year. I mean, I think where he was getting it, he's frustrated because he's a Lakers fan. I respect it. He's frustrated. He expects better of this team. But when he said that, I'm like, what? So, yeah, I know. I like some of his views on basketball. He knows what he's talking about. I just didn't agree when he said with Frank Vogel can't coach. I didn't agree with that. I just think that the Lakers this year are not the same team from last year. And I think a lot of it has to do with roster. And I just think it's also, too, it's the others. When LeBron and AD were not on the floor, who stepped up? Do you think the Jazz have a chance of some place? Because I think the Jazz are more built. I like Phoenix. I'm a fan of Devin Booker, Ayton. I'm a fan of those guys. But I just don't think they don't have the playoff experience that Utah has. And so to go back to your question, who do you see in the finals, East and West? So I have let me do this. In the East Western Conference Finals, I have Utah versus the Los Angeles Clippers. In the East, I have the Brooklyn Nets. No, excuse me. I have the Jazz and the Clippers, and then the Bucks. Again, that Bucks and Nets series, I got to see after the first 2 games. But in the West, I will say it's the Jazz and Clippers easily. In the East, I have to see how those first 2 games against Brooklyn and Milwaukee are going to look. I just because that Giannis versus KD, that's going to be a different. It's not they ain't going to have it easy like they did against Boston, Brooklyn. So, but I never did believe the Jazz would have a chance. I like the Grizzlies. Their future's bright. I'm a fan of John Morant, Dylan Brooks. They've all played well, but I think they need maybe like a guy like an Andre Iguodala who has championship experience. That's my most disappointing team was the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler, who did not play like Jimmy Butler played in the bubble, that was very disappointing. I definitely see that team being Brad Riley's going to definitely make some adjustments on that team. But yeah, I would say the Miami Heat was my most disappointing team. Do you think Kwame Brown is right about Stephen A's thoughts on the beef? Yes, I mean to a certain extent, you have to defend yourself. I mean, the man hasn't played basketball in all over a decade. I mean, let's just call it what it is. That Kwame Brown did not live up to what a number one overall pick is. But to keep talking about the man and saying he's a scrub, he's this, he's that, and he hasn't played basketball, he's retired. He's made his money. Let the man rest in peace. Let the man live in peace. You know, when we evaluate guys, you know, we do evaluate how they performed, but the way Stephen A. and other, you know, Jalen Rose said it, and and stuff like that. How do you think that makes them feel? So unfortunately, guys like Stephen A. and others, they are woke on a sleeping giant. So, but yeah, those are my. That was a good question. I'm sure that was a good question. So, all right, I'm going to end it here. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Again, y'all let me know your thoughts on the topics that I touched on. Until then, I'm out. Peace. Stay out.